everyone, welcome to another episode of the Startup Parable. It's very, very exciting to be back. My name is Rohan Jayavira, the guy who's losing the hair. Last time we introduced ourselves as Harsha Purusinga, who already lost all his hair. So thank you very much for joining us. Please check out all of the other episodes before that. This is the 6th episode of season 2 with ReadMe and Microimage. Today I have two very, very interesting people. I actually think it's a very interesting journey they have taken. Both of them have excelled technically, and today they run a business called nCinga. What is nCinga? Why nCinga is a journey, is a story I think it's worth definitely being worth listening to. And I just want to start with Imal. Imal, you and I go back about 8 to 10 years, had a lot of history, etc. And quite a very pleasant thing to see you with a company called nCinga. Tell us a bit about that story.
Thanks, Rohan, for having us here. It's an interesting journey. I mean, as you know, we go a long way back, working for a lot of multinationals. Right after 15 years working with them, and also not only in Sri Lanka, across the region, I feel that it's a little bit boring, right? And also
boring when you can make so much money.
Yeah, I mean, so after a while, when you make good salaries, money, and your basic needs are met, then you come to a point in life that you want to do something meaningful, right? And create opportunities for the young generation so that they can fulfill their careers and do something what you like to do, not because you have to, but because you love to, right? Because I had a period in my life, especially when I was working for one of those multinationals, I don't want to name, but you know, every time when you walk up in the Monday, you know, you're having a shower, you have to convince yourself that you have to go to work for this week, right? So it's not about the money, right? It's more about.
Now, so like basically, I mean, I remember you were one of the very first CCIs in Sri Lanka. I mean, probably if not the only one, like a long time. And you could have moved your career in so many ways. Why start a business?
Very good question. I mean, so again, it's both myself and Vijay here. We were both schoolmates, and we had our own stories. I mean, going through this multinational journey. He also worked in a few other places and countries, but once we were having a drink in SSC, after a while, long time, we were catching up. And interestingly, Mr. Harsha Purusinga was also there in that conversation. And we were inspired by him also, being a startup, and we were all in the same school, right? So that is the time that the idea came up, let's start something around the area of IoT and analytics, right? So the initial idea started in SSC over a drink.
Beautiful. Right? Imal, I'm just going to ask Vijitha, coming to you now, over a drink, IoT and analytics, brilliant conversation topics. Can you tell us how does nCinga came along? I mean, we heard about the story, but from the story of thinking about starting this, how did you decide that IoT and all that have an opportunity in the market?
I think working in the industry, we see most of these systems what we have today are kind of old, slow, lagging stuff. Right. So with the iPad and other things, we think that how technology being perceived in the society is going to change. Right. So what we want to do is like ride that wave or lead that wave, right, Ima? So that's where we do say that let's do things real time. Let's do things with numbers.
So let me pause you there and ask you, can you just, because I couldn't get a bit of an overview for all of our viewers here, a little bit of your background, because then I want to come back to you and start from that tablet and real-time requirement a bit. Tell us a bit about yourself.
I started my career at MIT, right? So Millennium is the real-time shop, right? So from that day onwards, today I think I've been in, for the last 15 years, we have been in real time and on the web. Right. So we have seen the wave and we see the need.
So Imal, I know a little bit about your clients. I'm not sure whether you can mention some of them already. But why industries exist? do they really need to be that real time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. Now, if you look at, I mean, I want to take a step back, right?
Right.
So we talked about IoT and analytics,
Right.
and now we talk about real time.
Right.
Now, I need to bring in another important aspect, which is the industrial IoT piece, right? Because in the consumer world, IoT and analytics is mainstream now.
Right.
It's no magic, right? But you walk into a manufacturing plant, you walk into a retail shop, right? Things are not yet real time for
Give
them
me
to
an
make
example.
decision, right?
Give me an example.
For example, take a manufacturing plant. If you ask someone, do you know particular style, you probably get an order from Nike or whatever, where that particular style is in the manufacturing process
Right.
at any given point in time, right? And when am I going to get it out to the customer? You'll have those kind of data probably in a ERP, but it's not real time. But if you want to know what is going on now, what is happening right now, then that information is not available, and that information can be available, probably you have to call 10 different people because they are on the floor, they know, or you have to go and dig some lot of Excel sheets or papers, it is there. But on a click of a button, today if you want to find something, you just do a Google search in your mobile, you get it.
Yeah.
But you want to find something in your company, what's happening right now, can you do it?
Most likely not.
Most likely not, right? So we are coming in that aspect, real time, but how you operationalize that real time aspect. Now we see there's a lot of companies working on the data science analytics, they're good in building data models, predicting and all that,
Yeah.
but there's something lacking, which is when you press a button, you need to have it on your fingertips, right?
Right. Is that in largely, if I apologize if I'm oversimplifying, is that what nCinga is built to solve?
So nCinga, we look at the things at a bigger picture. We say we empower data-driven decision, because I don't want, or we don't want to tag ourselves for a particular technology or a industry revolution, even though that can be short to medium term, but in the long term vision is empowering data-driven decision.
Right.
So
The technologies can change, but
Vijitha, you wanted to add
yeah, so adding back to the real time,
Yeah.
it's not the real time you're talking about stock exchanges pumping to dashboards. It's everybody being connected. That's why we go back to the IoT, right? So it's more of like the connected and doing it real time.
But Vijitha, isn't IoT little ahead of its time? Are we really mature?
Well, there are guys who go and explore. Somebody has to do it, right?
Right.
So we take it.
Brilliant.
Cool.
So tell me a little bit about the technology side, because I know that you're the guy who basically pioneering and driving behind the technology part of the nCinga as well, along with everyone else. But if you speak a little bit about the technology stack you're using at nCinga.
So I don't want to pick individual software, but
Right.
as a philosophy,
Yeah.
we believe if we want to solve these things, we got to go away from this structured thinking back to a reactive thinking. So what we think is something happens in the nature, how can software react to that?
So based on that, you pick the technology, but you are not.
Correct. So based on that, but it's not only us.
Right.
It's like there's a good wave in the whole programming community that picking you coming from the databases,
Right.
programming languages, everything. You try to be reactive and responsive.
So Vijitha, like one of the things, because I know, but this is a question for both of you gentlemen, right? So didn't your wife said, "Are you mad?" When you started off, like, you were very successful in a MIT, which you mentioned, you were very successful, you were obviously abroad also well. I mean, why do you want to get into this? At this
For
stage?
me, I think from day one, I think I've worked actually more than I have been switching companies quite a lot.
Okay,
But every place I went, I would have built something.
right.
I would not have been a part of like doing the maintenance stuff. It has been, so that's being in the at
Yeah.
home and at home as well, right? You do stuff.
Right.
So it's not that the companies we went,
Yeah.
that we went for 8 to 5 job.
Understand.
So we did the same job what we do today.
That's very interesting. You see that your passion always have been to build something. What about you, Iman?
I mean, it's about creating opportunities for the people, and it's about doing what you like to do, right? So those were the two things which was driving, and we've been quite close to each other from the school days, and it's also about working together and having fun, right?
Oh, interesting.
So all that aspects come into the play, and he was coming from real-time reactive programming background, and I know this guy can deliver, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't go through any business plans or whatever.
Yeah.
We had a vague idea.
Yeah.
We had the belief
Yeah.
that I knew that this guy can make it happen,
Right.
and at the same time,
I need business help for sure.
yeah, right. So he had the belief that okay,
Right.
I can take it to the
Companies
level
are not about just technology, right?
Absolutely, understand.
So the way that we kind of divide between ourselves is Vijay build the product, I focus on building the company and the business, right? Because anyway you need to have a solid product to build around
absolutely.
because you all know, like, we were mostly on the services business for
Right.
quite a while. I was part
Yeah.
of that as well, right? So wanted to do something and
Right.
create a name and a legacy behind us.
Very interesting.
So, like for example, if you look at MIT,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
Tony Veerasinghe and Peter De Almeidas, what they have built is an industry. You go to any of those top companies, look at the key people, they are ex-MIT, right? So, and they built an industry.
Yeah.
So, obviously, 20 years down the line, I would like to see, we would like to see that the people who have worked here, the ones who
Right.
are part of this industry. So this is what I would like to see when I am, probably retired.
Well, fantastic, amazing aspiration. I really admire both of you for that. A couple of things I wanted to clarify in that is that, so over SSC, over a drink with Harsha Purasinghe, idea came along. Can you tell us a bit more the next 2-3 steps you took in building it? Because now you have 25 people. I mean, that's a big responsibility. So, and the company has been existing for how long, Iman?
Now it's 2 years,
years now.
coming to 2 years, right? So
The bills are going up, environment is even more competitive, new players are coming
yeah.
in.
Correct.
So how do you cope? Tell me the first steps about building it and running it. What are the things you have noticed?
So I think the first how we started, I mean, if you look at our platform is nCinga Spark. So Spark come from Vijay's
What is
inspiration.
Spark?
It's come. I would let him.
It's coming from Allspark, from
Right.
Transformers,
Right.
which can give you energy, right? All these robots and all the metals, you would have seen in the episode. I mean, like once you hit that, that's the energy source. So what we want to be is, we want to walk into a factory and fix our energy so that everything gets live. That's the real time.
So he's a transformer fan. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that IoT sexy we started,
Yeah.
and he had this vision. සිංහලෙන් කියනවා නම් මේ යකඩවලට පණ දෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා මම දන්නේ නැහැ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කියන්න කොහොමද
No,
කියලා.
I think that's the best way to
So
say that.
යකඩවලට පණ දෙන්න. So that was the inspiration, drive us, right? So then it all started. Now coming back to your question, like sometimes the problem is like we think like, okay, what are you going to, how are you going to pay the salaries for 20 people, right? That's the
Absolutely.
that's the thing that which
Yeah.
keeps me awake in the night,
Yeah.
right? But we took all the forward calls. Sometimes we had to hire people, but I don't know how are we going to pay the salary, but we
Yeah.
took that call. We'll make it happen, right?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And
Was it always that, or even though you took the forward calls, you always had there's back of them and there's this one trump card? that,
yeah, yeah. So initially we started off with 100K capital. Even
Yeah.
though I told Vijay we have 100K,
Yeah.
I had about 150 to 200K in
Yeah.
my plans. But then when we started off with this, boom, it just burns, right?
Right.
And then the thing was like, okay, we always had this plan about getting investment. Right. So that is why we incorporate the company from day one in Singapore.
Right.
I mean, in our heart, we are still Sri Lankans,
Understand.
and all the investment have come here.
Yeah.
But due to the investment ecosystem, we set up the company headquartered in Singapore,
Right.
so that we could touch the money available into the startup ecosystem, right? And we brought in few people to help us there.
Right.
And one of the reasons why we took part on some of those brand building exercise with participating startup competition and all that helped us to raise that kind of money we wanted to raise to sustain this company, right? So so we are in that process now. So that was the plan in mind.
Fantastic. I'm gonna come back to that, because this I have a very kind of a opinion about investments and how you want to move forward. But I'm going to come back. But first of all, huge fan of Transformers. I wouldn't ask any question because I probably know much less about Transformers. Who's your favorite Transformer, Vijay?
Optimus is the best, I guess, still. But it's but you know
That's a easy
so
one,
but
actually.
it's yeah so.
So I want to ask you this
know,
question: is Sri Lanka ready for the products that you're developing? And then, what are the biggest challenges you had convincing people who already believe they have world-class operations?
Good question. Good question. People have the need, for sure. So any factory that we went and gave challenges, I think mainly it's not even technology, right?
Yeah. And to the same question, Ron. Now, when we started engaging, we want to start with the best.
Right.
We started engaging MAS first, right? So, and then dialogue, right? So once you test your concepts, once you verify, validate that, if they still listen to you, they keep giving you meetings, if they keep wanting to do pilots and wanting to give you POs, that means there is a place for it. Now, again, we are not concerned whether we have a market in Sri Lanka. If it is, that's good, but if it is not here, then we are prepared to, venture outside.
Right.
We have already couple of customers already in Singapore, and we are exploring a couple of other markets as well. So
here's my question. I'm a Sri Lankan. Unfortunately, I don't have the kind of exposure and the kind of a experience in working in now. Technology doesn't matter. There's no physical boundaries to it, right? So if I have a cool idea and a technology, and I have the capability, I have a good friend like Vijay also who can build it for me. But how do you track international market? Isn't it really tough? I mean, how do you sell? I'll leave Singapore out, right? Because Singapore, you live there and all that.
Yeah.
But how do you track another market? Aren't there like cultural contexts and other challenges faced? Tell us a bit about that.
Definitely. I think it's not easy to just to show up in a market and be yourself counted. But I mean, it depends on what kind of business you are in. If it's a marketplace or app, which is easy, but we are a kind of a more industrial enterprise B2B type of business. It's not easy.
Right.
But the good thing is, all along last 10 to 15 years, I've been in regional jobs. So we have this habit of jumping on a plane and go figure out, right? So sometimes you have to go through the industry associations. So we try to go through the industrial bodies like Apparel Exporters Association, or we participate in those forums, events, try to generate interest. And depending on the cultures, like we either partner or we go direct. Going direct is impossible unless you have someone anchor, can give you the opportunity. So you need to have if you are into B2B enterprise type, you need to have the exposure of doing regional business. There's no two sides to it.
Vijitha, your technology stack, what you're talking about, seems like very advanced, right? Or is it advanced?
It is. I mean, it's more of like I wouldn't call it advanced, but the programming thinking of that is getting from kind of object-oriented, slow concepts to more of reactive, agile building. So I think because if you walk into a current manufacturing place, the biggest question is biggest problem they would tell is for a change it will take 6 months and a dollar amount.
Right.
So I don't think at that rate society, I mean our software can evolve.
Right.
So rather than going on that, not only me, I mean there's a whole camp around the world.
Of course.
We think that programs have to be thought differently, especially real-time programs,
Right.
and coded and designed differently.
But do you have the talent here?
Of course, I mean for last 20 years we have been running around all the countries and doing it for others, right?
No, not for you, but
Not
in
no.
terms of
I mean,
scaling the
I
company.
am. We are all our products from here, right? So, like what Imal said, I think going out and coming back
Yeah.
here and why we do stuff is because we want to have more people doing what we do.
Couple of quick things. We spoke about dialogue, we spoke about MAS, and we spoke about IoT, spoke about analytics. There's a belief in the market that you should be able to describe your company in a couple of sentences. Now, if I ask you, I know that I have a bit of background on knowing your
Sure.
company, but if I ask you to describe your company in a few sentences for everyone who's hearing about nCinga for the first time, what exactly do you do, or is it an evolving thing?
So definitely it's a evolving thing because the company name is nCinga Innovation. So
Right.
innovations have to evolve, right?
Understand?
So what we do, we empower data-driven decisions, right?
Right.
Because we believe companies are using only 10% of available data. So 90% of data goes uncaptured. So that is where the IoT part comes into play, capture, right?
Right.
And at the same time, there is this trend happening in the consumer world and in the industry where people are moving from mass production to mass customization,
Right.
right?
Yes, understand.
So
I want something for myself.
I want something, I like to
Understand.
wear this kind of a cut and
Right.
this kind of a collar or
Yes.
this kind of a color.
Yes.
I don't want you to wear the same thing, right? So,
Understand.
so what happens with this is it's becoming harder and harder for manufacturers to produce these kind of things, yet profitably, because economies of scale
Understand.
comes with the volume, right? So now small quantities, how do I do it yet profitably? Now, if you have to continuously change your manufacturing lines, your production lines, your operations,
Yeah.
then you need to make decisions quick. Then you need the requirement for real time,
Brilliant.
right?
Brilliant.
So this is where we believe the market is moving. Probably it's not mainstream yet, but we definitely feel this is the future.
Understand.
And this is the fourth industrial revolution. And you asked a question previously whether the technology is mature enough.
Yes.
And some people have started trying to do this probably 5 years, 10 years, ahead.
Yeah.
But I thought this is the right time because now everything is connected, 3G, wireless, Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
and the sensors are becoming, very, very less expensive,
More affordable, yeah.
more affordable. And at the same time, analytics are now evolving, right?
Yeah.
So how do you put all these things together and build your niche around that? This is what we are doing.
Yes.
Because you see companies, the good companies work on analytics,
Right.
but there are good companies work on hardware sensor side,
Right.
and there are good companies work on software side.
Understand.
But is anyone working through that entire ecosystem on the industrial side? I mean, we believe that's us,
Yeah.
and we are the company who drives fourth industrial revolution in Asia. Probably in the world it will be GE. One day I would like, probably GE might come and acquire us. You never know, right?
You never know. Anything is possible these days. And then all these multinational companies, I know they're looking at Asia region. Evaluations are great. Investor money is great. But you are not a truly business. And call me being coming out of old school. You are not a business unless you have profitability on your own, on a P&L.
Sure.
When are you going to do that? Is that something that you think about all day?
Yeah. So basically, you're right. A lot of startups have this mentality: take the investment money, build something high, go after the valuations. But when investors ask me what is my exit strategy, and the answer for them was, no, I don't build to sell.
Yeah.
I build to last.
Right.
We as a team, we build to last,
Right.
not to sell.
Right.
But when you build to last, people want to buy that.
Absolutely.
People don't want to buy something which is built to sell, right?
Right.
So for us, it's I'm not worried about what is the next valuation. I want to make it profitable. So by end of 2017, we should be on our own, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need investor money. Yeah, investor money is needed for us to expand,
Yes.
not to run the company,
Understand.
right? So
That's the difference, right?
yeah, that's the difference, right? So for us to self-sustain, I think in another 6 months to 9 months we should be good, right? But after that, investment money is needed to grow this company as a global force,
Understand.
right? So
Amazing. Guys, I wish I had more time, but we are already, I think, 15 minutes over time. So I just want to say, guys, I'm truly inspired, and I think truly admire. I work with Imal in a different levels, and one thing I can tell you, these guys really use technology, the promptness, the level of way that they are attacking things, the energy is phenomenal. I think I would recommend you guys to come and check nCinga and talk to, and these are really lovely people. They will help you out in whatever the way possible. So that's it for this episode of Startup Parable. I wish I had more time. Inosh, it's up to you to figure that out. And see you and connect with you next time. Imal, Vijay, amazing. Thank you so much, and all the best to you.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Rohan.
having
Thank you
us.
very much.
Thanks.